Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So, today we're going to talk a little bit more about the Republican habit of now carving out legislation that allows people to sue each other in cases where they wouldn't normally have damages, so they wouldn't normally be able to sue. We talked about it recently in a video, and I got a message about it. It says, I fail to see an issue. What's wrong with suing a person over their self-induced inability to curb their behavior? What's the problem with issuing fines? If I leave the keys in my car and go run into the store and the car is stolen and the thief kills people or damage property with that car, why shouldn't I be sued? Now apply that logic to toxic waste recycling. Apply it to guns. Every gun that isn't sufficiently secured. Apply that logic to schools, public education, failing to teach all kids. Apply that logic to the financial system, MBS scandal. There is only so many ways to enforce behavior. You can't jail everyone, and even if you could, you just make them a martyr. If you lie and say that you've been vaccinated but become the source of an illness that wipes out an 8th grade class, why shouldn't there be a penalty? Okay, well, a lot of this is actually covered because there are damages. There are real damages that can be assessed. They're already covered in the civil system. And I don't think anybody's saying that there shouldn't be a penalty. It's that we shouldn't carve something out to allow people to sue each other and create a bounty system. These aren't fines. The money doesn't go to the state. The money goes to whoever says, oh, that person over there did it, right? So it's not a fine. Let's get that out of the way. Now, the other thing that's going on here is you're presupposing that the legislation is going to be used wisely. We have no indication that that's the case. In fact, we have the exact opposite. The only one of these that there's something comparable to is the public school thing, when the legislation is actually geared to making sure that teachers don't teach the kids. It's designed to put a chilling effect on what they teach. And the idea of toxic waste and all that sounds good, but if there are real damages, that's already part of the civil system. And if you're just talking about lesser stuff, you would have to convince the legislature to carve out an exemption to sue big business in this manner, which, considering the donations, that seems super unlikely. So you're presupposing that it would be used wisely. We have no evidence to suggest that's true. But let's just pretend that it is for a second. Okay? Let's go to the next thing. Let's say, okay, boom, they have used this legislation wisely. It's only for positive stuff. And there's some kind of guard to make sure that it doesn't get used in a negative manner. So now these cases go to the civil court system, which determines right and wrong, right? Come on, pretend we live in the real world. What does the American court system typically determine? Who has the most resources and the best lawyers? So even in a case where legislatures use this wisely, you still have the problem with the way the court systems work. And let's just say that we fix that. We fix that. So the legislatures use it wisely, and the court system works. It works really, really well. Okay? Then what do we have? We have a system that has created go-fast licenses. When I was in college, I got pulled over. I was speeding. I was speeding a lot. Got pulled over, and I got a ticket. It was a couple $100. And this was a long time ago. A couple $100 was a lot of money. Anyway, I got to class, and this guy that I knew, he heard me talking about how I'd gotten a ticket. And this guy, his dad was rich. And I don't mean like a little rich. He was a real estate developer. Dude was loaded. Right? The only reason this kid was going to the same college I was going to is because he didn't have the grades to get in anywhere else. But something he said stuck with me forever, because he said, "Oh, you got a ticket. Yeah, got to go pay for your Go Fast license." What? If you have that kind of money, you don't view it as a penalty. You view it as the fee to do whatever you want. It was a fee to drive as fast as you wanted. That's the way he looked at it. It was wild. If you have a system that is based on money, the way this would be, what you do, especially in a country where there's a whole lot of income inequality, is you create two sets of people. Those who have to abide by these rules or end up destitute, and those who can completely ignore them because they just pay the license. They don't view it as a penalty. They view it as the fee to do whatever they want. As an example, that one in Texas dealing with family planning, $10,000. Yeah, for most people, that's huge. That's something that many people wouldn't be able to afford. But what about the rich politicians that put this in play? If their mistress comes to them or calls them and says, "Hey, we got an issue," you think they won't just go ahead and do it? They can afford it. It puts them above the law. If you have a society like the one that we have, you cannot make the justice system about money. If you do, there will be people who are totally above the law. Even the way it is now, you still have that because of the resources that are at wealthier people's disposal, the ability to run out the clock, the ability to get the best lawyers, all of that stuff. If this is what is used to influence behavior, they're exempt. It's not a penalty. It's a fee to do whatever they want and get away with it. In an ideal world, when you're talking about changing the way people behave, it's probably done by convincing them through education, not through some kind of coercive means. It's done by changing thought. If you change thought enough, you don't even need to change the law. And never forget that when it comes to stuff like this, even if you do have a legislature in one state that would use it wisely, somewhere else, it's pretty likely that, well, you're going to get a $10,000 lawsuit because you exposed children to something they shouldn't be exposed to with that rainbow flag bumper sticker on your car. This is a tool to kick down those who don't have the means to fight back, those who, because of their life and the way they live it, maybe if they're in a area that isn't really accepting of that, the type that would pass legislation like that, you think they do well in court? Probably not. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.